Hey, it's your old pal Avian and Loaded here on Action Figure Obsession, and welcome to the program. And hey, that didn't take long at all. At some point I had resolved to myself that guy was going to fall over after I had carefully balanced him on his freaky little feet. I'm not going to keep doing that. Hold me accountable. I'm not going to keep doing that. So anyway, if you had to guess, what do you think the subject is? Any idea? Any clue? Okay. All right. So the subject is the top five unloved, almost unwanted orphan action figures in my action figure collection. And this is another category of the consequences of an action figure obsession. So, there were varying reasons that I bought these figures. And the biggest one is also kind of the most reasonable, rational reason. Well, there was two reasons. The biggest one, of course, is the I believe San Diego Comic-Con exclusive and later Ollie's Con exclusive Elvis Modoc, who I believe was in the I know there was a Modoc animated series. I'm not sure if it was called Modoc or Modoc's Playhouse or what it was called. Hey, now I've got an idea for a show. Modoc's Playhouse. Well, anyway, but the Elvis Modoc, who I won't bother to pull out of here. I have the original deluxe Hasbro Marvel Legends Modoc that came out, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago now. I bought 5 of those the day that they came out because, of course, the Toy Biz Modoc Build-A-Figure had been so sought after, and it was so clearly an upgrade in many ways from the promo images. And I had the money on me, and I just laid down $250 plus tax for 5 of the original Jack Kirby designed Elvis, or not Elvis, just Modoc. Mechanism only designed or killing, I forget what it stands for. Yeah, I don't even remember that anymore. But yeah, the Elvis Modoc. So the original Modoc, A, Jack Kirby. B, there was a slight chance that it would, become hard to acquire, which that turned out not to be true. The original Modoc, Hasbro Modoc, ended up, I think, going on clearance too. But Elvis Modoc, I think, was in one panel of Next Wave Agents of Hate, which was a comic book that I enjoyed. And that's another factor in this, but only kind of sideways, because I never would have bought an Elvis Modoc, I don't think, other than for the fact that, number one, it was like $100 or $120 box set that, again, was a convention exclusive, I'm pretty sure. But he also came with a character that I really liked from Next Wave Agents of Hate, and that is the Captain. Now, as you may be aware, as you may recall, you know where we're going by now, don't you, longtime viewers? I have this great affection for Steve Rogers, Commander Rogers, Captain America, even, the Red Skull in the Commander Rogers costume. Yes, the the population is going up, but you can see Captain America, a lot of Captain America on this work table. And most of these, with a couple of exceptions, like the Wolf cap here and the Secret Wars cap, I'd like to figure out a place in my displays to put them eventually. But in the meantime, they've kind of become a default display all of their own and almost like a joke. Almost, except I'm goddamn serious about them. Like, if I ever got to get out of this house in a hurry and I can't come back, these guys are the ones that are going with me. Believe you me. But, what was I going to do? Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's another head from the Captain right there. And you'll see that now the Captain comes with a serious head and kind of a goofy, maybe a little drunk head. You'll see that both of these captain heads are serious, and that is because I bought not one, not two, but three Elvis Modoc box sets at Ollie's. No, I never ever paid full price for an Elvis Modoc box set, but I did pay the clearance price, which I believe was $29.99. If they had ever gone, there was one Ollie's over in Vermont that they just hung on and hung on and hung on, and even the most recent time that I visited there, which was probably a couple of months ago, they still had 3 or 4 of them clogging up their toy shelves for $29.99. And my thought at the time was, in the back of my mind, the good thing about Ollie's is that sometimes, come on, buddy, sometimes if a figure doesn't sell out, or at least sell extremely well for $9.99, and I bought probably 3 or 4 Agent Rosses at $9.99, sometimes they will mark them down, and this has happened a lot with Star Wars Black Series, and it happened with a lot of the Wakanda Forever wave. Sometimes they will mark them down again to, in this case with Everett Ross here, $4.99, in which case I bought another, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 Everett Rosses. There's so many in my collection. They'll be finding Everett Rosses in this room in unexpected corners and places and closets and boxes. They'll be finding them decades after I'm gone. But anyway, my point, irrelevant to our good friend Elvis Aaron Modoc, is that so number one, I bought 3 of the sets primarily because of the captain. And I wanted the captain both because I like the captain, which is why you still see him here in his normal regalia from the comics. I liked the captain, number one. Number two, it is, to the best of my knowledge, the only time that the Netflix Punisher body has been almost completely reused. The only thing different about this from the Netflix Punisher that came out of the Man-Thing Build-A-Figure wave is the head, obviously, and the sneakers, obviously. Although you could put those shoes on the Punisher, I wouldn't make them bright red. But I did have one of these captains as a kind of urban camo Punisher for a while, where he was wearing the sneakers. The idea being that he's just trying to blend in and look like a hip guy hanging out, whatever. With his camo pants and his red sneakers and his black starred white t-shirt. But anyway, yeah, I wanted the captain. Oh, how I wanted the captain. I wanted the captain. I think I got one, and then I really liked it and realized I couldn't believe that I bought basically a Netflix Punisher, body for customizing for $30, which would seem like a good deal at the time, even if it, probably was sheer madness. Anyway, I ended up buying not one, not two, but 3 Elvis Modoc box sets. So I have 3 captains in my collection. One of them is hanging out over on my G.I. Joe Classified series Jeep table that has the Vamp and the Stinger Jeeps from the G.I. Joe Classified series. One of them is a Kit Bash in my collection that I love so much that I often forget, and there's numerous things that I forget about this guy, believe it or not. Oh, yeah, there we go. I'm just doing a little last-minute posing here, but this is Star-Man, not Starman, it's Star-Man, like Star-Lord. And he is just a Kit Bash that I did. He is not meant to be a DC Starman. There is a Starman in DC who does dress a little like this, but I called him Star-Man simply because he has the star. And it is the Steve Rogers head from the the recent Hasbro Commander Rogers figure, which looks so much better, does it not, with the goggles instead of with those eyes. And he could be good looking under those goggles. There's no way that this guy, this Jesse Plemons motherfucker, this is the same head, my friends. Look at him. Look at him. Same head. Same head. But the goggles improve it by like 500%. The things that I often forget about this figure are that it's the captain, because I do think of him as Star Dash Man, and I don't actually say it that way, but just for the purposes of your understanding, it's when I'm talking to him quietly here in the toy room, just him and me, I just call him Starman. That's what I'm telling you. Not that I do that, not yet anyway. But uh, where was I? Oh, so the things that I sometimes forget about him when I'm looking for something else, or when I'm thinking about something else and looking around, I often forget A, that he's on the captain body, B, that he has those G.I. Joe Classified Series goggles, which I consider to be a pretty useful accessory. Most of the goggles in their line are pretty useful. Where's the other guy? Where's the other guy? Where's the other guy? I was going to say these were G.I. Joe, but they're not. This guy, who is the maddest of my mad scientists, I think, built on the egghead body. This is the Doctor Strange alternate head with the closed eyes, which is why I wanted to put goggles on his head. I don't know if you can see the purple in the lenses. That's actually the goggles from the MCU, Hasbro Marvel Legends MCU Spider-Man No Way Home Green Goblin. But I do not have those lenses on my MCU Norman Osborn unmasked head, because where is he? There he is. He's a member of the Gray Agency, and he doesn't need his goggles, because if he has his goggles on, then you can't tell that he's Norman Osborn, who is, something of a scientist himself. So I really, really like how this looks. It doesn't, with the goggles on, it doesn't scream Doctor Strange to me. If anything, it almost screams Tony Stark. But with the gray at the temples, clearly it isn't Tony Stark, or perhaps it's an older or crazier Tony Stark, or perhaps it's Howard Stark. The goggles certainly would play into that as well, since Howard Stark was active in the 1940s and 50s. So they're kind of, cool Thomas Dolby, she blinded me with science, steampunk goggles. Boy, that was a lot of words, Mr. Avian and Loaded. So yeah, with Star Dash Man here, I often forget that he's the one with a pair of my goggles that I might be looking for. He's the one with the janky Steve Rogers head that I might be looking for, and he is the third of the three captains that I have in my collection. And now he's gone, because he was just being used as an example of why I have three of the Elvis Aaron Modocs why I had three, actually. Brace yourselves, friends, the story's about to get longer. So at one point I did have five normal Modocs and three Elvis Modocs, and my God, the places that an action figure obsession will take you when you're making a good paycheck. Did you pay all your bills, honey? Yes, I did. So everything's covered for the month. Everything's paid for. Yes, it is, honey. All right, go ahead and buy three fucking Elvis Modocs. Thank you, honey. And that's my life, or at least it was. So yeah, Elvis Modoc. Ended up with three of him because I wanted three of the captain. I don't regret having three of the captain, by the way. I have never traded or even considered traded or selling my three captains. I fucking love the captain. I'm telling you, man. He's the shit. Look at him. Look at him. He's the fucking greatest. So yeah, Elvis Modoc. I gave one to a friend who came and visited the toy room with his little boy, who had seen my toy room tour, a 4-year-old boy. I believe I gave them an Elvis Modoc. That was late last year. And I think I gave one to my son, because I think I remember him coming through the toy room and going, "Oh, cool, Elvis Modoc." And I'm like, "Yeah, you want one? You're getting an Elvis Modoc, and you're getting an Elvis Modoc, and you're getting an Elvis Modoc." It was that kind of thing. And then the other one, I thought, my wife has a friend who is super, super, super into Elvis. He gets her whole shook up. And so it kind of in my mind's, in my mind, not my mind's eye, but in my mind, I kind of justified the third Elvis Modoc by saying, you know what, I'll give this one to my wife, and she can give it to her friend who just loves Elvis, baby. Give me that Elvis. Give me Elvis. Give me that peanut butter nana sandwich. So, yeah, that was one, part of the justification for buying a third one. Although, really, I just wanted another goddamn captain because you can never have enough goddamn captains, can you? Look at him. Oh, so handsome in his little duster or raincoat or trench coat or whatever that is. I just love him. Just love him to bits. Love him to bits. So, anyway, wow. Wow, 15 minutes in and we were only done Elvis Modoc. Holy shit. Okay, so yeah, anyway, long story short, my wife either didn't think that her friend would like Elvis Modoc, or my wife didn't want the humiliation of revealing to her friend that her husband collects action figures and he happened to have an Elvis Modoc. I just thought she'd give it to him and go, hey, this is Elvis and you like Elvis, so maybe you'll enjoy it. And if you don't, throw it in the fucking garbage. I don't care. I literally don't care. I did have, a few months ago, this absolute epiphany, and this is the last thing I'll tell you about Elvis Modoc. I swear to God. I did have, and again, remember, this whole video is about unwanted, unloved, orphan action figures in my collection. I did have this thought, you know what I could do? Because I do have the alternate, the original Jack Kirby Hasbro Marvel Legends Modoc that I bought 5 of and now only have 1 for reasons. He came with 2 different faceplates, so you could have like an angry Modoc and then just kind of a passive, stoic but always plotting and scheming Modoc, scheming to think about how to murder people and kill people and take over the world and Modoc-y stuff. Modoc, by the way, is one of Jack Kirby's greatest creations, and I don't know that Jack Kirby wouldn't have created an Elvis Modoc at some point if he had lived long enough and Marvel had actually treated him well and paid him well. It's entirely possible he would have thought of Elvis Modoc all on his own. But, yeah, I thought, oh my God, wait, Elvis Modoc. Elvis Modoc's paint deco is a little different than the other one. Like you see those reds around the piping there in his special place in his peeper area. Shout out to Anthony's Customs. He would like to show you his package, so sometime go to Anthony's Customs and you'll see what I mean. Here on YouTube. And anyway, where was I? Well, yeah, I got the idea in my head that instead of just putting this in a box in a closet, which he was for a good long time. But I mean, let's face it, even though he's unloved, he's too goddamn good looking to leave him in a box in the closet. I got him out, and I got the alternate faceplate for the other Modoc, and I thought, this is great. I'm just going to slap that faceplate into this thing, and you know what's going to happen is I'm going to have 2, not 1, but 2 Jack Kirby looking Modocs. And can you guess what happened? Can you guess the most unlikeliest friggin' thing that happened? Hasbro spent extra money. That's what happened. Hasbro retooled and created a new faceplate for Elvis Modoc that is about a half an inch higher, maybe even a whole inch higher than the original Modoc to accommodate what I will call his 5 head and his, trademark Elvis pompadour, which is spectacular, by the way. The only thing they could have done with his hair to make it a little better is some shading. But, it's so well sculpted that just the light alone, gives it some definition and some texture. So, long story short, he said 18 minutes and 54 seconds into talking about Elvis Modoc, that I couldn't swap the faceplate and turn this into a Jack Kirby Modoc because the faceplate for Jack Kirby Modoc left a great big, maybe 3/4 of an inch gap at the top because it's I think, actually, now that I think about it, the back piece that this whole thing is constructed on, this piece that wraps around his head, that might have been retooled as well. They may have retooled that part and also the faceplate, because that faceplate does come right out. It pops right out. It's like rectangular. As you can kind of see by the gap there at the bottom of his lower Elvis lip. That's probably the best thing about this thing, right? That he has that Elvis sneer. That's great. And oh my God, I said it was unloved. Stop loving it, Avian Unloaded. So, Anyway, I discovered I couldn't turn him into a Jack Kirby MODOK, but at some point in that whole long process of trying to figure out what to do with this guy, I did sort of fall in love with him. But if you are truly loved in my collection of 1,000 or so 1/12 scale 6-inch Marvel Legends and GI Joe Classified and Mafex and Jada Toys and a few other Fortnite, a few other brands. If you are truly loved and one of a kind, because Elvis MODOK is one of a kind now in my collection. If you are truly loved and one of a kind, in other words, there's no other version of your character and no other version of your same exact figure. That's kind of your pass to the Shriners convention floor here. That's how you get to hang out on Avian and Loaded's work table. Now, these guys, like Bushwhacker here and Punisher, the Gamerverse, Nick Fury and Punisher, those three are much loved, and even Bushwhacker, I've come to love him. I hate to admit it, but I have, with his stupid rat tail and his diseased skin and oh yeah, there's an older video on this channel about me turning him into just the anti-Punisher or something like that. I just popped the alternate yelling Punisher head on him and made him like an evil clone of the Punisher. But yeah, I turned him into Bushwhacker, gave him those oh god, dead shot, that's his name. Okay, see the pistols, I couldn't remember where they came from the last time I talked about his great big 1911 Desert Eagles. Those are 7-inch scale McFarlane Toys Dead Shot, the movie Dead Shot figure that McFarlane Toys did. Look it up. The Vin Diesel movie from the Vin Diesel movie. Yeah, which was not good. I tried to watch it and got through about 10 minutes. But those pistols, eventually that figure went on clearance, that Deadshot figure went on clearance, the Vin Diesel Deadshot figure. Went on clearance at Walgreens for like $4.99, and I bought one just for the pistols, because you should do that sometimes. I've talked about that in another video. When it goes on deep clearance, you see a figure and you don't think you like the character, or you don't like the figure, fuck it. Look around in the box. See what else is in the box. These pistols, if you were to buy something of similar quality from a third-party seller who does like 3D printed pistols, this set of pistols would probably cost you $20 to $25. And I got them for $5, and I don't know what happened to Deadshot, Vin Diesel Deadshot. I probably threw them in a fodder lot and sold them for, $4 or something, or $3. I don't care. I just wanted them out of the house. I hated that figure, but the pistols were pretty great. Good God, almost 23 minutes. Can you believe it? What is he doing? No, I know. Anyway, Unwanted, Unloved figures. We're done with Elvis MODOK now, by the way. This one isn't really unloved. This is the Crystar, the Crystal Warrior, or as at least one action figure reviewer who had never heard him and apparently wasn't alive when the comic book came out from Marvel Comics, and I think it was a cartoon too. Crystar, ironically they said Crystar, the Crystal Warrior. How it is that you can pronounce crystal correctly and yet not intuit that a clearly crystalline action figure, a beautiful translucent crystalline action figure, is named not Crystar, but Crystar, because you're about to say it again almost. Crystar, the Crystal Warrior. I saw a whole review where someone called him Crystar, the Crystal Warrior. And I love it when people don't know things and then they talk about them for 20 minutes. I'm really good at that myself, right? Anyway, the quick story with Crystar, the Crystal Warrior, because I've wasted, half an hour of your time almost here. The quick story with Crystar, the Crystal Warrior, is that my wife and I took a long trip to Maine, where I hadn't been since I was a very, very small child and only had the vaguest memories of that trip. I think I might have been 4 or 5 at the time. And we took a long trip to Maine. We took a week-long vacation. We stayed for a week in a pretty nice hotel. It wasn't on the beach, unfortunately, because we did later on find that beach hotels and motels were a thing. And and because we were like the week after Labor Day, it probably would have been affordable. So, if we ever go back there again, probably we'll get like something right on the beach just after Labor Day. But anyway, we took that long trip. It was a wonderful trip. It was maybe the second best vacation of my entire life. And at one point, a friend of mine lives out that way, and had mentioned to me that there was an action figure store literally in the town we were staying in, which was South Portland. And they were at that time. So we went there. I'd never been there before, and I'm not going to bother naming them, just simply because at that time they had already begun transitioning away from carrying action figures. The action figure selection was not very good. I walked in there with something like $1,000 in cash on me, and I thought, this store, I've seen pictures of my friend's purchases from that store on his Instagram, and I was like, God damn, I'm going to go in that store and I'm going to burn that place down by buying up everything they have, and they're going to have to start over from scratch. And I went in there and I looked around, and there was like a really lame Mezco that I didn't want, and there was a whole bunch of G.I. Joe Classified that I already had, and there was a bunch of Indiana Jones Adventure Series stuff that I already had. I always look at those when I see them. They didn't have them on clearance, which hurt the chances that I would have bought any of that stuff, because there was a couple I probably would have bought if they were at all these prices. But no, they were like $29.99, like that. And that was a failed line, guys. You didn't get the memo. The line failed. Clear them out. Clear them out. But no, they weren't clearing them out. They were letting them sit and get dusty, which I think Christar here maybe. Yeah, maybe that isn't dust. Anyway, the one thing that they had that I was kind of curious about, but was kind of on the fence about buying, was Christar the Crystal Warrior. And I think the factors that worked in his favor is they play into my 80s nostalgia, even though I had no nostalgia for Christar. But I will tell you, being very ginger, when you hear me being ginger, you know what I'm doing, right? Reaching over into the mass casualty zone. How friggin' cool is it to have Christar the Crystal Warrior and Rom Space Knight, two of the greatest action figures from the 80s, two of the greatest sort of nostalgic properties from the 80s. So, when I put them together, and I should just put them together in a display, because suddenly his whole existence is justified. But I really only bought him that day at that toy store in Maine, because I'm setting him down gently, nobody fall over. I basically bought him because I didn't want to leave my Maine and my wonderful vacation that we were having without at least having something physical, something tangible, something tactile. And now I have spread his legs apart and he won't stand up. Oh no, I fucked up his feet too. Hold on. Yeah, his feet are a little loose. Kiki's to the rescue. I got Christar the Crystal Warrior, or if you prefer, Crystar the Crystal Warrior. I got him mainly just to have a souvenir of our vacation. So when I see him and his, translucent blue that recalls the beautiful ocean that we saw and all, he just reminds me of when we went on vacation in Maine. So that's basically why he gets to stick around, even though he really doesn't serve any real purpose in my collection. Maybe I'll put him in a display with Rom at some point if I get a little more display space, but that's about it. All right, let's get to the turd in the punch bowl here. Is he still going to stand up? Okay, he's going to stand up for the moment, and I'll show you this guy in all his glory. I don't have a 360, spinny thing yet, but I will show. Oh, that's the best part, isn't it? Isn't that the best part right there? His little dingus, which you and I both know, you filthy-minded freak. You and I both know that's supposed to be the end of his spinal cord or his coccyx or whatever you want to call it. Coccyx doesn't help, though, does it? This is a McFarlane Toys, I believe Warhammer, is it 40K or 10K? I don't even care. It's a Warhammer gene stealer. So I guess he steals your DNA. He's a gene stealer. And I sat on the fence about this guy for a long time. I got him at Target, but I'd seen him at Target quite a few times. And just kind of shined it on because I don't give a shit about Warhammer. I don't even give a shit enough to be certain it's 40K. I think it's 40K Warhammer, 40,000. Is the year 40,000? I don't fucking know. I don't really fucking care. but I'd seen it. Like, look at and what won me over eventually was really looking at it, because when it's a character, when it's Spider-Man, or in this case, Spider-Boy, non-existent Secret Wars Spider-Boy. Sometimes we just see the character when we look at the action figure. Sometimes we just look at it and go, yeah, that's Spider-Man. And there are various levels that we ignore, like, is the paint good on this guy? Is it the right height? Did anything like this ever exist in the comics? See, sometimes Hasbro ignores these things too. Back in your place, non-existent What If Spider-Boy. But this guy, I really took a good look at him a couple of times, because there was something about him that intrigued me. It might have been these sort of Cthulhu-like head sculpt, like he's one of the ancient ones from the Outer Dark kind of thing. But he needed to be repainted for that, I think. But really, what sold me on it eventually was the level of detail in how he appears, and it's almost inexplicable. Is this his skin? Is it? I mean, it looks like bone. Is it his exoskeleton, and then his exoskeleton is splitting, so we're seeing the muscle striations beneath the skeleton? What the fuck is going on with this guy? I don't even know. And the day that I got it, I had enough money that I really didn't even care. I just decided, okay, he looks enough like Cthulhu, and he's got a lot of detail. He's got a spine in the front, apparently, and a dingus spine, spinal dingus. Doctor, my spinal dingus hurts every time I go pee. Well, don't go pee. He's flipping you off, and he's flipping me off. Holy free holies, he really does hate us all. Brought to you by... he really does hate us all. And I did, I think, pay full price for this guy. I think he was, oh God, anywhere from $25 to $35, I think I paid for this guy, with the thought that maybe I would at least get a second one and army build them. Now, speaking of that thought, I just remembered there's two figures that I should also bring into this discussion. And this will be quick, but I just want to show you these two. I was going to say MFers. These are this guy and this guy. I mean, I assume they're guys. Look at those. You don't need to see my grooming tools. They have different heads, and I think there was a third head as well that I have packed away somewhere. These are the Outriders from Hasbro Marvel Legends that I think were in the end of Avengers Endgame. I'm not 100% sure on that. I think just either the idea was originally that the Chitauri were coming back, or these are kind of an evolved version of the Chitauri, because it's very similar in some ways. But yeah, these Outriders, I think I got them in trade, actually, now that I think about it. I went to a vintage bookshop that also has action figures about a half an hour from here one day, with a whole bunch of stuff to trade in. And they had this 2-pack of the Hasbro Marvel Legends Avengers Endgame Outriders, who similar to our friend the Gene Stealer over there on the workbench. This is not the workbench. This is I'm putting together like a dual monitor setup, but I need my son's help, so I'm waiting for him to help me out with that. But anyway, these guys don't stand up very well, as you can see. There we go. I did have this one. Yeah, he's okay. So he's kind of holding his balance there. There's the beautiful artwork that came with the McFarlane Spawn 2-pack from McFarlane Toys, by the way. And I really hate it when he sells me cardboard, but I do like that piece of artwork. I do. When it comes with that little stand. But yeah, anyway, so the Outrider and this Outrider, they are also pretty much unwanted and unloved from the moment I opened them, with the difficulty in standing and my kind of losing interest in MCU figures between those two things. And also just kind of the weird, is it a symbiote? Is it from the same planet as Venom? Is it a Chitauri? Is it an Outrider? What the friggin' freak is it? I don't know. Do you like these? What do you think about these? You want to trade? You got something good? I don't know. They just do nothing for me, and they basically are standing here because they have the tendency to fall over. I definitely don't want them on the work table. By the way, Logan and Wolverine would say hi, but they're very obviously busy surveilling something. So yeah, those Outriders and this guy are kind of a piece. They're all hunched over. They're all monstrous looking. They're all somewhat scary and intimidating looking. Although I think this guy is a little too brightly colored. Even though the details of the sculpt are grotesque, the bright colors kind of diminish how horrifying or horrific he is, don't you think? The McFarlane Toys DNA Gene Stealer from, I'm going to say Warhammer 40,000 or Warhammer 40K or whatever the fuck it is. Let's wrap this up, folks. Next to last here is the figure that I like the most among these unloved and mostly unwanted, and I guess he's the reason why they're mostly unwanted. This is Yellow Jacket from the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Hasbro Marvel Legends, Ant-Man and Yellow Jacket 2-pack. He was the villain, the main villain in the first Ant-Man movie. He was portrayed by that actor, that tall, bald actor whose name no one remembers, but always goes, hey, it's that tall, bald actor. Well, yeah, come on, buddy. You made it almost all the way. Just a couple more minutes. Just sit on your dingus. So, yeah, I love this figure just as a figure, which is the reason why it is still in my collection. I have nothing really to do with it. Sometimes I stick it with my AIM guys, but there's no room where the AIM guys are right now, and also the yellow is too intense and vibrant. It doesn't really match the sort of almost school bus yellow of the AIM Marvel Legends soldiers and scientists. I strongly suspect this figure was designed by Bobby Valla, who later left Hasbro and went on to be the founder of Valaverse and the creator of the Action Force line. Because there is a faction in the Action Force line called the Swarm, and they are the most mysterious and the most dangerous, the most violent and deadly force in the Action Force lore, such as it is. I think the Action Force lore consists of the text on the file cards that come with them, and also, I think, 7 or 8 issues of the Action Force comic book that he basically did to showcase the characters, which is fine. I mean, good God, why do you think the G.I. Joe comic book even existed? It was just to sell toys, just like Bobby Valla, and he learned from the best. Hasbro and Marvel, and anyway, this Yellow Jacket here, it really holds up, man. It is gorgeous. Look at the texture. That texture is definitely from the same books that Bobby Valla has of all the textures that you can use when making action figures. He talks about those exclusively on the Valaverse channel, Valaverse. Look up some of his how to make action figures videos. They're really, really interesting. There's all kinds of weird textures in this, too. It's not just the beehive texture, and, because Yellow Jacket, but also I notice, like on the back of the stingers here, you see there's a different texture, kind of a piped texture on the back of the legs. It's just so nice. It's really well made. It's sturdy. It's not. It's a little dusty, I will say, but it's nice looking. It articulates reasonably well. I think it's a unique sculpt. I don't think Hasbro ever reused any of these parts, not even the hands or the legs. If I could have an army of these in my G.I. Joe Classified collection, I would. But that 2-pack, I think, remains a little bit pricey. Certainly, it never went below retail, I don't think. But it looks, by the way, also, if you're a real comic book fan, it really looks like a Gil Kane character, like one of his later day, and I'll just isolate him here. It looks like one of his later day cover designs. It's just so bold and in your face, this Marvel Cinematic Universe Ant-Man movie Yellow Jacket. So he is kind of unloved in the sense that I really don't know what to do with him or where to put him, but I hang on to him because of all the figures in my collection that I really am not currently doing anything with. I look at this guy and go, man, there's a lot of potential there. I guess I could put him in a Spider-Man display as like an updated Stinger, From when Peter Parker was pretending to be a whole bunch of different superheroes. One of them was a bee kind of guy called Stinger. I could put a Peter Parker head on him or something. I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud. I'm just riffing, folks. He's riffing. Finally, Peter Riffin. Remember him from Family Guy? Finally, as you may recall, do you know why I bought him? You know why I bought him. Well, you might not know because you might think it's part of the sculpt, but this Doc Brown from Back to the Future, the goggles are removable. It's really interesting that you cannot just pull them off from the top of his head because of the way the hair is constructed, but you pop the head off and then you slide them down his face and they come right off. They are not purple like the Green Goblin goggles. That's how I tell them apart, because every once in a while I'll have them on someone else and then I'll be like, oh shit, which ones belong to the fucking Green Goblin? So thank God they made the Goblin's goggles have that purple little cast to them. But Doc Brown, while I have no real use for him, he doesn't really fit in with my mad scientist faction, because holy shit, he's like 7.5 feet tall compared to them. Gently, yes. But it's nice. Look at it. Look how nice it is with the various. Look at that. Look at the on his shirt or vest or whatever the hell that is, smock. Because he seems to have a black shirt under that. So is that a smock? Is it a vest? Is it a scientist thing? I don't know what the hell it is. It is a sweater or a pot holder. Who the hell knows? But he's got the gloves with a whole lot of sculpting on those. Those are like from the octopus back in Will Eisner's Spirit comics from the 40s. Those are the octopus's gloves right there, my friends. He's got that wrench, which is one of the most convincing accessory paint jobs I've ever seen. Ladies and gentlemen, that's a fucking wrench. That's not a toy. That's not an accessory. It's a goddamn monkey wrench. So, I keep him because he's good looking. He gets the job done. I have zero nostalgia for Back to the Future. And I did see all 3 movies in the theater. I hated the third one, as you probably did as well if you're a reasonable person. But Doc Brown, I do keep around, I guess mainly for the goggles. I mean, I could keep the goggles and get rid of the figure. In fact, these goggles were on another figure for a long time, but I realized that they look best on him. They're built for him. They're made for him. They fit him perfectly. As I said, they look like they're part of the sculpt, those goggles. I do love Christopher Lloyd as an actor. I loved him in Star Trek when he played a Klingon, and I loved him. I've loved him in everything I've ever seen him in. So I guess I keep it partially because it's a Christopher Lloyd action figure, partially because it's just a really good-looking action figure, partially because it's a mad scientist action figure, partially because the detail and paint on the figure are absolutely spectacular. And in case I didn't mention it, look at his socks. His socks have paint and texture. Holy cow, Hasbro never does that. Hasbro's socks are always just a goddamn plain piece of plastic, usually white, and it's just a piece of plastic, and there's nothing to it that makes you go, oh yeah, that's socks. So you know what? I think we're done. I think I don't really have a whole lot other to say about Doc Brown, other than that I guess we could lovingly take a look at the details of the sculpt, like his Band-Aid there. That is a Band-Aid, right? The stubble on his face, the 5 o'clock shadow. I have seen these on clearance at Walmart occasionally in their clearance aisle, but they still want like $20 for it. And I really, if I bought more, I'd just be buying them for the goggles. I really don't need more than one, and I only keep them around because it's just such a well-done figure. I mean, the articulation isn't great, but that almost never is with NECA. And you know that going in, or at least I do. I'd watched enough videos to know that, and I bought him on clearance at Walmart, by the way, for $20 or $24.99. I mean, he was originally a $35 figure, but I got him in the clearance aisle of a Walmart that had just opened in Ticonderoga, New York. Or just opened up a clearance aisle. They had never had a full dedicated clearance aisle before, but they did a remodel and included a clearance aisle. And I went to see if there was any figures, and there was a few, but they were all crap and nothing that I wanted. Doc Brown was there, and I had looked at him before because of the goggles, but at $35, I was not going to buy him for just the goggles, but apparently for $24.99 or $19.99, whatever it was, I was willing to take the plunge. And by the way, unlike most actor face sculpts on action figures, this guy looks like Doc Brown from every freaking angle. Like, NECA is so good at nailing actor likenesses. It is just uncanny. And that's yet another reason to love this Doc Brown NECA figure, who still somehow ends up in my unwanted, mostly unloved, mostly unwanted category of figures, which this has been my top 5 mostly unloved, mostly unwanted action figures in my collection. And I consider, even though I've been able to justify all of them, it's starting to become a crowd. And that is the action figure obsession part. One or two you might be able to excuse. Just this, if it was just Doc Brown sitting here, you're like, yeah, I can understand why you'd buy that. Even if you don't like Back to the Future, even if you don't collect 7-inch figures, even if this, even if that. But, you have an action figure obsession. You find reasons to buy things that you're not necessarily super excited about. And sometimes even after you get them, you still don't become super excited about them. I mean, I really like Yellow Jacket, but I'm not super excited about them because I don't know what the fuck to do with them, honestly. So that's it, really. That's my top 5 mostly unwanted, mostly unloved action figures in my collection. Thank you for joining me for this edition of Action Figure Obsession. I do appreciate you spending way too much time with me talking about this subject today. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you hated it, give it a thumbs down. Feel free to leave a comment. Do you have action figures in your collection that you don't really care about, but you have them anyway, and for some reason you don't get rid of them? You find ways to justify it, like me? Or any questions or comments or observations, always welcome your comments. And I will put a heart on it if you leave one, and I don't know what that does for you or for me, but I'm happy to do it, and I always do. Unless you say something nasty, in which case I probably will try to engage with you, and if you don't engage back, then I will delete your comment. That seems to be what's going on with me and negative comments. If you have something stupid and mean and nasty to say, I will ask you why you said that, or I will ask you to elaborate further, and then, if you don't answer me back in a day or two, I'm like, all right, well, screw you. You're probably not coming back anyway. That's just, I'm still figuring out all this, how to be a YouTuber business. Any thoughts on that? Am I not doing it right? Let me know. I'm happy to hear your thoughts on that as well. Subscribe to the channel if you would, and please hit the notification bell so you'll be informed anytime I upload a new video, which will probably be both shorter and more interesting than this one. Thank you for joining me for this action figure obsession. I will see you on the next one, and until then, remember, stay all shook up.